The night shift at the radio telescope was supposed to be quiet. Dr. Rebecca Shun had been staring at the same data screens for 6 hours, watching nothing but cosmic background noise dance across her monitors. Coffee had gone cold hours ago, and she was thinking about her daughter's school play tomorrow when everything changed. At exactly 3:47 in the morning, every alarm in the facility started screaming at once. Rebecca's chair nearly tipped over as she lunged forward. The gravitational wave detectors were going crazy, showing readings that shouldn't be possible. According to her instruments, something massive had just appeared in space, about 2.5 million kilometers from Earth, not approached, not arrived slowly. Just appeared like someone had flipped a switch. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands and called her supervisor. "Professor Williams, you need to get down here right now. Something's happened. Rebecca, it's almost 4 in the morning. Can't this wait until—" "No, sir, it really can't. We've got readings that don't make sense. Something big just showed up in our solar system." 20 minutes later, Professor Williams burst through the lab doors, still wearing his pajama top under a hastily thrown-on jacket. One look at the data screens and his face went pale. "Get me NORAD on the line, now." The call to North American Aerospace Defense Command set off a chain reaction that would change human history forever. Within an hour, every major space agency on Earth was pointing their telescopes at the same coordinates. What they saw defied everything they thought they knew about physics. The object was enormous. At 15 kilometers long, it was bigger than most cities. But size wasn't the strangest thing about it. The ship, and it was definitely a ship, looked like it had been carved from a single piece of dark crystal. Its surface seemed to absorb light in some places and reflect it in others, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. Admiral Torres had seen a lot of things in his 30 years of military service, but nothing had prepared him for this. He stood in the command center at NORAD, surrounded by screens showing satellite feeds of the impossible vessel hanging in space like a dark jewel. "Are we sure it's not one of ours?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "Sir, we don't have anything even close to this level of technology," replied Captain Rodriguez. "Neither does anyone else on Earth." "What about the Russians? The Chinese?" "Sir, this thing is 15 kilometers long. You can't hide a construction project that size. Besides, look at these readings." She pointed to a screen full of numbers that meant nothing to Torres. "It's not made of any material we recognize. The hull seems to be some kind of crystalline structure that's both transparent and opaque at the same time." Torres stared at the image on the main screen. The ship wasn't moving, wasn't threatening anyone. It was just sitting there, as if waiting for something. "Any communication attempts?" "We've tried everything, sir. Radio, laser, even tried flashing lights at it, nothing." That's when it happened. Every person on Earth heard the voice at exactly the same time, not through radios or televisions or phones. The words simply appeared in their minds, as clear as if someone were standing right next to them speaking. "We seek the ones who defeated the Void Hunters." Rebecca felt the words inside her head and nearly fell out of her chair. Around the world, people stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. Children woke up from their sleep. Night shift workers paused in their tasks. Even people who were completely deaf heard the message, not with their ears but with something deeper. The voice was calm, neither male nor female, and carried a weight that suggested vast intelligence and even vaster age. It spoke in perfect English to English speakers, perfect Mandarin to Chinese speakers, perfect Spanish to Spanish speakers. Everyone heard it in their own language, as if the speaker understood every tongue on Earth. In the NORD command center, chaos erupted. Officers were shouting questions, phones were ringing off the hook, and every world leader was demanding answers that nobody had. "Sir," Captain Rodriguez called out over the noise, "we're getting reports from every major city." Everyone heard it, every single person on the planet. Admiral Torres felt a chill run down his spine. Whatever was on that ship had technology so advanced it could speak directly into human minds from millions of kilometers away. If they wanted to hurt humanity, there probably wasn't much anyone could do to stop them, but the message itself was Puzzling void hunters? Torres had never heard of anything called void hunters. He looked around the room at his staff, all of whom seemed equally confused. Anyone know what void hunters are? Heads shook all around the room. Dr. Patricia Wong, the chief scientist attached to the Space Monitoring Division, raised her hand tentatively. Sir, we might want to check with the outer colony reports. There have been some strange incidents in the last few years. Torres nodded. Get me everything we have on unusual activities in the outer system. What they found over the next few hours painted a disturbing picture. For the past 3 years, Earth's small mining and research stations in the asteroid belt and around Jupiter had been reporting attacks. Not from pirates or political groups, but from unknown ships that appeared without warning, struck with devastating efficiency, and vanished just as quickly. The attacks had been kept quiet to avoid panic. Most people on Earth didn't even know they were happening. But someone on that alien ship clearly did. Sir, Captain Rodriguez said, her voice tight with worry, if this is about those attacks, then whoever's on that ship has been watching us for a long time. The implications were staggering. Earth wasn't alone in the universe, and apparently humanity had enemies they didn't even know about. But somehow, according to the alien message, humans had been fighting these void hunters and winning as news of the alien ship spread around the world. People reacted in predictably human ways. Some panicked, some celebrated. Some immediately started making money by selling alien contact merchandise. But most people just went about their daily lives with one eye on the sky, waiting to see what would happen next. Rebecca found herself at the center of the biggest story in human history. Her small radio telescope had been the first to detect the ship's arrival, making her an instant celebrity. But as she sat in her lab, fielding calls from reporters and government officials, all she could think about was that voice in her head. We seek the ones who defeated the void hunters. The way it was phrased suggested the aliens already knew humans had fought these mysterious enemies. They weren't asking if humans had encountered void hunters. They were asking to meet the people who had beaten them. That meant humanity was already famous in some circles they'd never heard of. The question was, famous for what, exactly? Outside, the ship continued to wait in the darkness of space, patient as a stone, while 7 billion humans tried to figure out what came next in a universe that had suddenly become much more complicated and much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 3 days after the alien ship appeared, humanity was still trying to figure out what to do next. The world's leaders had been arguing nonstop about who should make first contact, what to say, and whether humanity was ready for this moment. Ambassador Elena Vasquez wasn't supposed to be the one making history. She had been planning to retire next year after 30 years of diplomatic service. Her biggest worry had been whether her pension would cover her small apartment in Madrid. Now she was standing in the docking bay of the International Space Station. Unity, wearing a hastily modified spacesuit and carrying the hopes of 7 billion people. You sure about this, Elena? Came the voice of Mission Commander David Park through her headset. He was watching from the control room, his hands hovering over the emergency controls that could seal the docking bay in seconds if something went wrong. No, Elena admitted, checking her oxygen levels for the 5th time. But someone has to do it, and apparently that someone is me. The choice hadn't been political or strategic. Elena had been selected because she was the only person on Earth who had studied every major human language and several dead ones. If these aliens could speak inside human minds, the thinking went, maybe they could understand someone who understood how humans really communicated. The alien shuttle didn't look like anything from Earth's science fiction movies. It was smooth and curved like a teardrop made of the same dark crystal as the mothership. When it had detached from the larger vessel 12 hours ago, it had moved through space without any visible engines or exhaust. It simply glided toward the space station as if space travel was the most natural thing in the world. Now it was docked, and Elena was about to meet beings from another world. Atmospheric readings are normal, reported Dr. Kim Chang from the monitoring station. Whatever they're breathing, it's compatible with our air. The docking tube finished pressurizing with a soft hiss. Elena took a deep breath and stepped forward as the airlock opened. 3 figures emerged from the shuttle, and Elena's first thought was that they looked like they were made of starlight. The aliens were tall, about 7 feet each, with skin that seemed to be made of liquid glass. She could see what looked like veins of light flowing beneath their transparent skin, pulsing gently like a slow heartbeat. Their eyes were the most striking feature, large and completely silver, like mirrors that reflected not just light but somehow reflected thoughts. The one in front stepped toward Elena, and when it spoke she heard the words both out loud and inside her mind at the same time. "I am Kethmer of the Stellar Confederation. We have traveled far to meet the humans." Elena had practiced this moment 100 times, but facing an actual alien being made her mouth go dry. She cleared her throat and said, "I am Elena Vasquez, representing Earth and humanity. We welcome you. Your species is already known?" "To us," Kethmer replied, and something in his tone made Elena's stomach clench. "Though perhaps not in the way you might expect." The 2 other aliens moved to flank Kethmer, but their posture seemed respectful rather than threatening. Elena noticed that they kept their hands visible and moved slowly, as if they understood that sudden movements might frighten her. "Would you join us in your meeting chamber?" Kethmer asked. "What we must discuss concerns the survival of many worlds." An hour later, Elena sat across from the 3 aliens in the station's main conference room. Every word of their conversation was being transmitted to Earth, where world leaders, scientists, and military commanders hung on every syllable. "You called us the ones who defeated the Void Hunters," Elena said, trying to keep her voice steady. "But we don't know what Void Hunters are." Kethmer's silver eyes seemed to grow sad. "You know them, though you may not recognize the name. For 3 of your years, they have been attacking your outer settlements. Small strikes, testing your defenses. You have fought them and survived." Elena felt her heart skip. "The asteroid belt attacks? Those were aliens?" "Indeed. But not just any aliens. The Void Hunters are ancient, older than most civilizations in this galaxy. They are artificial beings, machines given terrible purpose. They consume entire worlds, not just for resources, but for the knowledge and life force of every living thing on those worlds." The room fell silent except for the hum of the space station's life support systems. Elena could hear her own heartbeat. "They have destroyed over 400 civilizations in the past 1,000 years, Kethmer continued. "Entire species gone. Their planets stripped bare, their knowledge absorbed, their very essence feeding the Void Hunters' expansion across the galaxy." "But you said we defeated them," Elena whispered. "Not defeated, not yet. But you have done something no other species has accomplished in a millennium. You have hurt them, you have destroyed their ships, you have made them retreat." One of the other aliens, who had introduced herself as Veltar, leaned forward. "In the galactic community, humans are spoken of in whispers. They call you the Impossible Ones." "The Impossible Ones?" "Because you do things that should not work," Kethmer explained. "When the Void Hunters attack, civilizations respond with logic, with strategy, with advanced technology. They fight the way rational beings fight, and they lose." Elena shifted uncomfortably. "And humans don't fight rationally?" "Your commander, Lisa Park, flew her damaged ship directly into a Void Hunter destroyer rather than retreat," Veltar said. "Your people call such actions ramming speed. No other species has ever conceived of using their own ships as weapons in this way." Elena remembered the reports from the asteroid belt. Several Earth ships had been lost in collisions with unknown vessels. The military had assumed they were accidents or last resort maneuvers. The families of the dead had been told their loved ones died heroes, but nobody had explained they were fighting aliens. Captain Roberto Silva took his mining ship into an asteroid field to escape pursuit, Kethmer continued. When the Void Hunters followed, he detonated mining charges to collapse the field on both his ship and theirs. He died, but he took 12 Void Hunter craft with him. The room was spinning. Elena gripped the edge of the table. "You're saying our people have been dying fighting aliens for 3 years and we didn't even know it? Your military knew." They chose to keep it secret to prevent panic. But yes, your species has been at war with the greatest threat this galaxy has ever known. And against all logic, you are winning. The third alien, who called himself Morden, spoke for the first time. Every civilization the Void Hunters attack responds the same way. They evacuate, they call for help. They build bigger weapons. They fight from a distance and try to preserve their lives and their technology. And humans? Elena asked, though she was beginning to understand. Humans fight like cornered animals, Morden said, but his tone was admiring rather than insulting. You take risks that no rational being would take. You sacrifice yourselves not just for victory, but for the chance of victory. You fight as if your lives mean nothing, which paradoxically makes your fighting mean everything. Kethmore leaned back in his chair. The Void Hunters' greatest strength is their ability to predict and counter logical responses. But humans are not logical. You are unpredictable, emotional, willing to die for principles the Void Hunters cannot compute. Elena felt a chill of understanding. They're coming for Earth, aren't they? All of them. Yes, your resistance has drawn their attention. Every Void Hunter ship in this sector of the galaxy is converging on your world. They see humanity as a threat that must be eliminated before your impossible tactics spread to other species. How long do we have? Perhaps 6 months, maybe less. Elena closed her eyes and thought about her daughter, her grandchildren, all the people on Earth who were going about their normal lives while alien machines planned to destroy everything they'd ever known. Why are you telling us this? Why are... You hear? Kethmore stood up, and his companions did the same. Because for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy has hope. The Confederation has decided to stand with humanity. We will fight alongside you, not because we think we can win, but because you have shown us that winning is possible. What do you need from us? Be yourselves, Veltar said simply. Be impossible, be illogical, be human. The survival of every free world in this galaxy may depend on it. Captain Maria Santos had been commanding starships for 15 years, but she'd never imagined she would end up in charge of the most important fleet in human history. Standing on the bridge of the massive alien warship called the Astral Vengeance, she felt like a child playing with toys that were far too advanced for her. The ship itself was a marvel that hurt to think about. 15 kilometers of crystalline hull that seemed to bend light around itself, powered by technology that came from 17 different alien civilizations. Each one had been destroyed by the Void Hunters, but not before they managed to hide pieces of their knowledge in this single vessel. Captain Santos, came the voice of the ship's artificial intelligence, but it wasn't just one voice. When the AI spoke, Maria heard dozens of different tones layered together, the last remnants of all those dead civilizations speaking as one. We are detecting massive gravitational disturbances at the edge of the solar system. Maria looked at the main screen, where dots of light showed the positions of every ship in their combined fleet. Earth vessels hung in space next to craft from a dozen alien worlds, all waiting for the storm that was coming. How many ships do we have total? She asked Lieutenant Commander Jake Harper, her second in command. 237. Captain, about 60% are human vessels. The rest are Confederation ships that arrived over the past 2 months. Maria nodded, though the numbers felt overwhelming. 3 months ago, she'd been commanding a single destroyer on patrol duty around Mars. Now she was responsible for the largest military force humanity had ever assembled, fighting alongside aliens in a war most people on Earth still didn't fully understand. The truth had come out slowly. After Kethmar's revelation at the space station, world governments had finally admitted to their people that Earth had been under attack for years. The news had caused panic in some places, but mostly it had made people angry. Angry that they'd been lied to. Angry that their loved ones had died fighting aliens without anyone knowing. And angry that these Void Hunters thought they could destroy humanity. "Captain," called out Dr. Angela Foster from her position at the science station, "the AI wants to show you something." Maria walked over to Dr. Foster's console, where a holographic display had appeared showing what looked like a star map. Thousands of red dots covered the display, each one representing a destroyed world. These are the civilizations the Void Hunters have consumed, the AI explained in its chorus of dead voices. 412 species, over 900 worlds. Each fought bravely, each used their most advanced technology. Each fell within days of the main assault. The display zoomed in on Earth's solar system, where a small cluster of blue dots represented the Allied fleet. Your species, however, has achieved something unprecedented. You have not merely survived their attacks, you have inflicted casualties that force them to retreat and regroup. This has never happened before. Maria stared at the display. What makes us so different? May we show you? The AI asked. Before Maria could answer, the holographic display changed, showing what looked like a battle scene. Human ships were fighting against sleek, black vessels that seemed to absorb light. This is Commander Lisa Park's final battle in the asteroid belt, the AI explained. Watch. On the display, Maria saw a human destroyer under heavy fire, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere. Any sane captain would have retreated to fight another day. Instead, the ship suddenly accelerated directly toward the largest enemy vessel. Oh. Power to engines, came a recording of Commander Park's voice. Ram them. The human ship slammed into the alien vessel at full speed, both ships exploding in a ball of fire that took out two more Void Hunter craft nearby. No species in our records has ever used their ships as missiles, the AI said. The Void Hunter's tactical computers could not predict this action because it appeared to be suicide with no strategic value. But it worked, Maria said quietly. Indeed. The Void Hunter's greatest strength is their ability to calculate optimal responses to any threat. But they cannot calculate responses to actions they consider impossible. The display changed again, showing another battle. This time it was Captain Roberto Silva's mining ship fleeing into an asteroid field with Void Hunters in pursuit. Watch what your Captain Silva does, the AI said on the screen. The mining ship suddenly stopped running and began setting off explosive charges throughout the asteroid field. Rocks the size of buildings started crashing into each other, creating a deadly avalanche of stone and metal. Silva knew his ship couldn't outrun the Void Hunters, the AI explained. So he decided to bring the entire asteroid field down on top of them. His ship was destroyed, but he eliminated 12 Void Hunter vessels. Maria felt a chill as she watched the recording. He killed himself to take them with him. This is what the galaxy calls fighting like humans, the AI said. Other species fight to win. Humans fight to make sure the enemy loses even if it costs them everything. Dr. Foster looked up from her console. Captain, we're getting reports from the outer sensors. Something big is coming. Maria hurried back to the main view screen as new contacts appeared on the display. At first there were just a few dots at the edge of sensor range, then dozens, then hundreds. My God, whispered Lieutenant Harper. How many ships is that? Our sensors are detecting over 3,000 Void Hunter vessels, the AI announced. This represents the largest fleet they have ever assembled. Maria felt her stomach drop. 3,000 ships against their fleet of less than 250. The odds were impossible. Captain, came a transmission from the Earth ship. Defiant. This is Admiral Chun requesting orders. Maria looked around the bridge at her mixed crew of humans and aliens, all waiting for her to say something that would make sense of this situation. She was a destroyer captain, not a fleet commander. She wasn't supposed to be making decisions that would determine whether humanity survived or died. Open a channel to all ships, she finally said. Channel open, Captain. Maria took a deep breath. All vessels, this is Captain Santos aboard the Astral Vengeance. I know what you're all thinking. 3,000 ships against 250. The math doesn't look good. She paused, looking at the sea of red dots on the tactical display. But here's the thing about humans. We've never been good at math when it comes to fighting. We don't fight because the odds are good. We fight because something needs fighting. And these Void Hunters have been killing our people for 3 years, without us even knowing about it. On the communications display, she could see dozens of ship captains nodding grimly. Our alien allies tell us that we fight like no other species. In the galaxy, they say we're unpredictable and illogical. They're right. When any other species would retreat, we attack. When any other species would surrender, we blow things up. When any other species would try to preserve their ships and their lives, we use both as weapons. Maria looked directly into the camera. The Void Hunters think they know how this battle will go because they've won every battle for 1,000 years, but they've never fought humans before. They've never faced people who are too stubborn to know when they're beaten. She leaned forward. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to show these ancient machines what happens when they pick a fight with the species that thinks a fair fight is one where the other guy doesn't see us coming. We're going to be so unpredictable, so impossible, so completely human that their computers won't know what hit them. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Then, from the communications console, came the sound of hundreds of voices from ships across the fleet. Understood, Captain. Let's show them how humans fight. As the Void Hunter fleet drew closer, Maria Santos stood on the bridge of a ship built from the combined knowledge of 17 dead civilizations and prepared to find out whether human stubbornness and alien technology would be enough to save not just Earth, but every free world in the galaxy. Commander Jack Harrison had been flying fighters for 12 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. His fusion-powered interceptor Phoenix screamed through space alongside 200 other human and alien craft, heading straight toward the largest enemy fleet in galactic history. "This is Phoenix leader to all fighters," Jack said into his comm system, trying to keep his voice steady. "Remember what Captain Santos told us. We don't fight fair, we fight to win." The Void Hunter fleet stretched across space like a plague of black metal locusts. Each ship seemed to bend light around it, making them hard to look at directly. They moved in perfect formations, their tactics calculated by artificial minds that had been perfecting warfare for thousands of years. "Phoenix leader, this is Astral Vengeance," came Captain Santos' voice through Jack's headset. "You are cleared to begin your attack run. Show them what human pilots can do." Jack pushed his throttle forward and felt the familiar pressure of acceleration, pushing him back into his seat. Around him, his squadron of 20 fighters spread out in what looked like a completely random pattern. Any military academy would have called it sloppy flying, but that was exactly the point. "Phoenix 2, break left and dive," Jack ordered Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez, his wingman. "Phoenix 3, you're with me. We're going straight up the middle." "Up the middle?" came the surprised voice of Lieutenant Tommy Park. "Jack, there are 50 enemy ships between us and their command vessel. Exactly, they'll never expect it." This was human fighter tactics in a nutshell, while alien pilots followed. Careful attack patterns designed to minimize losses, human pilots did whatever seemed like the worst possible idea. It drove their alien allies crazy, but it worked. The first Void Hunter ships opened fire, filling space with beams of energy that could cut through most ship hulls like butter. Jack rolled his fighter sideways and dove toward the enemy fleet, weaving between the deadly beams like he was playing a video game. "Phoenix leader, you've got 3 bogeys on your tail," warned Rodriguez. "I see them," Jack replied, pulling his fighter into a climb that would have torn apart a less advanced ship. "Amy, remember that crazy thing we did during training last month? The one where we almost got court-martialed? That's the one. Do it now." Rodriguez's fighter suddenly stopped climbing and began flying backward, still firing forward at the pursuing Void Hunter ships. The enemy pilots, trained by computers that calculated optimal pursuit patterns, flew straight into her line of fire before they could adjust to her impossible maneuver. 3 bogeys down, Rodriguez reported with satisfaction. "These guys really don't know what to do when we break the rules." But the fighter battle was just the opening act. The real fight was happening between the capital ships, where vessels the size of cities exchanged fire that could be seen from Earth. Captain Helen Morrison commanded the human battleship Indomitable, a massive ship that had been hastily upgraded with alien technology over the past 2 months. Her ship was tough, but it was still human-built, which meant it was held together with determination and spare parts rather than advanced alien engineering. "Captain, we've got 12 Void Hunter cruisers closing on our position," reported her tactical officer. "They're trying to surround us." Morrison looked at the tactical display and smiled grimly. "Let them come. All ships, this is Indomitable. We're about to show these machines something they've never seen before." Instead of trying to escape the closing trap, Morrison ordered her ship to accelerate directly toward the center of the enemy formation. Her crew thought she'd lost her mind until they realized what she was planning. "All power to forward shields," Morrison ordered, "and prep the antimatter charges." The Indomitable plowed into the middle of the Void Hunter formation like a battering ram, taking massive damage but refusing to stop. When she was surrounded by enemy ships on all sides, Morrison gave the order that would either save her crew or kill them all. "Detonate antimatter charges, all of them." The explosion lit up space like a new star being born. The Indomitable was torn apart, but she took 8 Void Hunter ships with her. Captain Morrison and her crew of 400 died in the blast, but their sacrifice opened a hole in the enemy formation that the rest of the human fleet immediately exploited. "All ships, charge through the gap," Captain Santos ordered from the Astral Vengeance. "Don't let their sacrifice be wasted." The battle raged across 3 star systems as both fleets spread out over millions of kilometers of space. Human ships fought with a desperate fury that amazed their alien allies. When their weapons ran out, they rammed enemy ships. When their ships were crippled, they used them as bombs. When they were outnumbered, they did the unexpected thing and attacked anyway. Lieutenant Colonel Ana Rodriguez was commanding a squadron of destroyers when her ship, the Retribution, took a direct hit that knocked out her main engines. With Void Hunter ships closing in on all sides, any rational captain would have surrendered or tried to escape in the life pods. Instead, Rodriguez ordered her crew to abandon ship while she stayed behind to pilot the crippled vessel manually. "Colonel, you need to get out of there," came a frantic transmission from the destroyer Valiant. "Negative," Rodriguez replied, wrestling with the ship's controls as enemy fire lit up her hull. "I've still got maneuvering thrusters and a full load of missiles. That's enough." She aimed her dying ship at the largest Void Hunter vessel in range, a massive command ship that was coordinating the enemy attack in her sector. The Void Hunters tried to destroy the Retribution before it could reach them, but Rodriguez flew her ship like a fighter, spinning and diving through the enemy fire. "Tell my daughter Sophia that Mommy kept her promise," Rodriguez said into her COM system as the enemy ship grew larger on her view screen. "I said I'd come home from this war, and I'm just bringing some uninvited guests with me." The Retribution slammed into the Void Hunter command ship at full speed. The explosion took out not just the command vessel, but 4 other enemy ships that were too close to the blast. Rodriguez's sacrifice disrupted the Void Hunter coordination in that entire sector, allowing human and alien forces to push forward, but the Void Hunters weren't helpless. Their ships began adapting to human tactics, using their superior numbers to overwhelm human vessels before they could get close enough to ram. The battle began to turn against the Allied fleet as human ships were destroyed faster than they could take enemy vessels with them. "Captain Santos," the AI aboard the Astral Vengeance reported, "we are losing ships at an unsustainable rate. At current loss ratios, the fleet will be destroyed within 6 hours. Captain Santos looked at the tactical display where red dots, representing destroyed human ships, were disappearing faster than she could count them. Each dot represented hundreds of people who had died fighting for Earth's survival. "What do the computers say our chances are?" she asked. "Less than 3%, the AI replied. Santos smiled grimly. "Good, we're right where we want to be. The worse the odds get, the better humans fight. Send a message to all ships. Tell them we're down to our last few hours, and that's exactly when humans are most dangerous." As the battle entered its final phase, something unprecedented began to happen. Human ships stopped following any kind of tactical formation and began fighting as individuals, each captain making their own desperate decisions about how to hurt the enemy. It was chaos, but it was human chaos. and the Void Hunter's tactical computers simply couldn't predict what any human ship would do next. The fate of Earth and every free world in the galaxy hung in the balance as ordinary humans proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon in the universe is the refusal to give up, even when giving up is the only logical choice.